On the morning of February 4th, 2025, students at campus Risbergska in Örebro, Sweden expected nothing more than another ordinary day of classes. But within minutes, that routine morning turned into the deadliest classroom shooting in Swedish history. A gunman stormed the building, firing bullets and unleashing chaos. By the time the attack ended, 10 innocent people were dead and 11 more were injured. But who was the man behind this massacre? And what could possibly drive someone to turn a school into a killing ground? Örebro is a quiet Swedish city, home to universities, families, and one of its largest educational centers, Campus Risbergska, a combination high school and adult learning facility. On that Tuesday morning, students were preparing for lectures while teachers set up their classrooms. It felt like an ordinary school day, but walking toward the entrance was a man with a dark purpose. His name was Rickard Andersson, a 35-year-old former student of the same school. Carrying a backpack full of weapons, he was about to write his name into Sweden's history in the bloodiest way possible. At around 9 a.m., Andersson entered the building armed with a Glock pistol and a shotgun. He began firing without warning. The sound of gunshots echoed through the hallways, leaving students and teachers frozen in shock. Panic exploded. Some students hid under desks while others smashed classroom windows to escape. Teachers locked doors, shielding terrified children as the gunman moved from room to room. Within minutes, 10 people were killed, mostly students, but also staff. Another 11 were injured, 5 from bullets and 7 from smoke and fire caused by the chaos. Survivors described running through hallways littered with backpacks and overturned chairs, the air filled with screams and gunpowder. Witnesses later recalled one horrifying moment. "We thought it was fireworks, until we saw blood on the floor." The massacre ended when Andersson turned the gun on himself, dying instantly. But the damage he left behind was unimaginable. Who was Rickard Andersson? On paper, he was just another man. 35 years old, unemployed, and once a student of Campus Risbergska, but beneath the surface was a troubled life. Investigators later discovered Andersson had struggled with mental illness, social isolation, and financial despair. More disturbing was his obsession with past school shooters. On his computer, police found forums, writings, and even journals where he praised infamous killers. He wanted to join their ranks, to be remembered, no matter the cost. Neighbors described him as quiet, withdrawn, the kind of man who never spoke, but always watched. To the world, he was invisible. But in his mind, he was preparing for an attack that would make him infamous forever. In the hours that followed, Swedish police and forensic teams swarmed the school. At first, there was speculation. Was this a terrorist attack? Was there a larger plan? But investigators quickly concluded this was a lone wolf attack, meticulously premeditated. Andersson had purchased his weapons legally, practiced at shooting ranges, and even written down chilling notes about how he wanted to make history. Authorities ruled out racism or ideology, pointing instead to personal despair and mental illness. The massacre was not about politics. It was about a man who had lost his grip on reality, who wanted one final act to define his existence. As one investigator put it, he wasn't looking for a cause. He was looking for fame. The aftermath was devastating. Families gathered outside the campus, some learning their children would never come home. Vigils lit up the streets of Örebro as the entire nation mourned. Swedish leaders ordered flags at half-mast, and a national moment of silence was held for the victims. But grief quickly turned into anger. How could a man with such obvious warning signs still have access to deadly weapons? Politicians debated stricter gun laws and stronger mental health support systems. Survivors spoke out, haunted by the memory of that day. One teacher said softly, "Our classrooms will never feel safe again." The Örebro massacre was more than just an attack on a school. It was an attack on the sense of safety in Sweden itself. The Örebro school massacre remains the darkest day in Sweden's modern history, a reminder that even the safest places can be shattered in an instant. 10 lives were stolen, dozens more scarred, and an entire country left with unanswered questions. Was Rickard Andersson simply a man consumed by madness, or was he driven by a darker obsession with infamy? We may never fully understand what pushed him over the edge, but one thing is certain: February 4th, 2025 will forever haunt Sweden's classrooms.